and ah, and almost every time when I walk in a room. That is not the reaction I was expecting. They sometimes they ooh and ah in fear, and sometimes they ooh and ah in astonishment. Sometimes they ooh and ah because my skirt's too short. One of the times I found myself oohing and ahhing was in Nepal. I remember we tried to climb in Nepal, and we did our first day, and we found that it didn't work out with my legs on. So we go back to Kathmandu, and we decide to leave my legs in Kathmandu. I think there's a song. But don't worry, Mom, I'm not going to sing. So we're climbing the Himalayas, and with the group, what works out best is if I start out every day before everyone, because my steps are shorter, and I pretty much finish every day last, because my steps are shorter. And I remember we got to this suspension bridge, and it's above the Modai Kola River. It's over 860-something feet of a drop. There are planks missing on this suspension bridge. It's windy, so the suspension bridge is swinging. I got my legs off. So the lines for either side of the suspension bridge are over my head. And so when we cross over the suspension bridge, my heart is going ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. I got like mega adrenaline going. Everybody decides to sit down for a rest. That is the last thing I feel like doing. So I carry on. This great, big, massive hay bale with tiny little spindly legs out of the bottom that looks a little bit like a human SpongeBob SquarePants is coming towards me. And it starts to teeter as it gets closer to me. And I'm kind of in ooh and ah of, holy cow, this is a really big hay bale. And then I've got the oohs and ahs of, I think this hay bale is going to land right on top of me. He drops it. He misses me. And there's this little, frail, Nepalese farmer. And he looks at me. And he says to me and a Nepalese student that was walking with me, he says, if this one looks like that, what do the rest of the group look like? The Nepalese student doesn't want to tell me what he said in case it hurts my feelings. But I find out what he says. But what a Nepalese porter who had been walking with me says back to him, he says, oh, that's nothing. One of them doesn't have a head. It was so great. So we've been trekking together for 9 days, me and this Nepalese porter. And what I had seen is that there wasn't enough food for a lot of people. They would feed one person in the village well, and this would be the person that would bring the most food to everybody. And with the donkeys, there'd be like 20 donkeys trekking the Annapurna region with us, and they would decorate it with bells and whistles and a color saddle. It'd be all decked up. And they would feed just the one donkey. And then the other 19 donkeys would blindly follow the bells and whistles and colorful donkey. And it's because they didn't have enough food for all the people. They didn't have enough food for all the donkeys. And there were no people with disabilities that I saw. And basically, it's because they only feed who they see is the valuable contributor, right? The one that can do something for the people in the village. And in reality, they don't have these sexy legs that I have. And they don't have the technology and the awareness and the laws. So it makes sense in some remote way that people with disabilities die off. But when that Nepalese porter said, one of them doesn't have a head, just because he'd been with me for 9 days, right? Where stereotypes are just real. They're not even a stereotype. I knew if we could make a difference just by being together for 9 days, then anything in my life was possible. Yeah, right? Anything. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that was 1991. Hard to, I should have said 1997 for the year, just fudged the truth for the ring of the 7. 7 months ago, give or take, I was on a sidewalk at Yonge and Bloor, downtown Toronto, and there was a drop zone outside of a 25-story building. And I hadn't climbed or rappelled or scaled since 1991. And I wanted to do it again. And so I convinced them to let me jump. And so I scaled this 25-story building just to prove to myself that it doesn't matter how old you are or how physically able you are or whether you're male or female. All the people scaling the building were men. So I had it in my bonnet that we had to get a woman up there. Yeah, right? Yeah. I didn't even think of the fact that it was a 4-way amputee woman. Every dream has been made possible because of the strength of my fabulous mother. Yeah. Yes. And my sense of humor also comes from my Liverpudlian mother. Yes. Yep. I remember crying and thinking I didn't want to go to Nepal. What had I decided? And she said, "You're going, the ticket's bought." And a lot of encouraging words. But when I told her that I'd scaled the 25-story building, she said, "If I'd known, I would have killed you first." But it's that tough love, Mom, that's got me where I am today. Thank you. Thank you.